Hello, it's your favorite previous IELTS examiner, Mia Andrews. So, for the past few days, I've been uploading videos about fluency and coherence, grammatical range and accuracy, and of course, lexical resource. Today, we're looking at the final one, pronunciation. So pronunciation within the IELTS band descriptors is a little confusing for a lot of people. Many people think, oh, I'm making the sounds right, so I must get a high score. And that is not true. So the English language is very rhythmic, right? So if you don't have that word stress, sentence stress, and intonation, you will lack certain natural rhythms in the English language. And that will keep you from getting that higher score, a 7 or above, that you think you deserve. Okay? Now, another huge problem with pronunciation is that there's something called fossilization errors. And a fossilization error can occur in many ways. We see it in grammatical range, where people will use mixed pronouns. And we also see it here in pronunciation when people don't know how to create certain English sounds. One of the really big ones that I've encountered is the TH sound, the sound, being pronounced as an F sound, or very commonly, an S sound, S. And these are all three different sounds. And they're very easy for a native English speaker to pick up and notice. So when it comes to the IELTS exam, these are sounds that the examiner are looking for, right? So you need to be careful. And you need to know which sounds are problematic for you. Now, this comes back to fossilization because if you have only ever been taught English by a non-native English speaker, you may not have ever noticed that there was a difference in these sounds because your teacher might have also had these same errors. And what happens when we see this is you'll hear the error as a child again and again and again, and nobody ever corrects you, so you think, oh, this is right. And then it gets stuck in the back of your head, and you can't change it as easily as you get older. Now, does this mean it's impossible to change? No! Of course you can change this. It's just going to take someone pointing out the error to you and you actively working on hearing it and fixing it, right? And I point here because this is where you're going to have to fix that problem. Okay? Now, with all this said, don't lose hope, okay? If you find out that you have a rather large pronunciation error, all you need to do is practice, okay? Now, I will have a lot of phonetic videos coming out soon, and those will be up on my other platforms that I'll have a link to when they're out officially. And yeah, you can check those out as well to help you in the near future. For today, though, let's go ahead and let's look at what makes a band 5 in pronunciation. So if you go to the public band descriptors, which you can find at cambridgeenglish.org, and you go down to a band 5 and you look at pronunciation, it's going to say something like, shows all the positive features of a band 4 and some, but not all, of the positive features of a band 6. What does this mean? First of all, this means that even if you show some of the negatives of band 4, you can still get a band 5, as long as you show 1 or 2 of the positives in band 6. And I'll be really honest, for these kind of in-between band descriptors where they say, oh, shows all the positive features of one band descriptor and some of another, what's happening is some of another is very important. You're going to need to hit typically 2 or more of those positives, not just 1, okay? Now, for us today to really understand what a band 5 is in pronunciation, it's really important to think about pronunciation as stages, okay? And in stage 1, you're learning the individual sounds of the language. You're learning the consonant sounds, the vowels, the diphthongs, all of these, and you perfect them, right? Now, if you are making some very common errors again and again and again throughout your IELTS exam, for example, your TH sound sounds like an S sound, S, constantly, that's going to keep you at a 5, right? Because this means that error is pronounced. It's very commonly happening, and it might mean as well that you don't know about it and you haven't learned how to fix it. And this will impede your ability to speak English clearly. And so that keeps you at a 5. All pronunciations scores that are at a 5, this means that you have a pronunciation problem, at least one, but probably a few more, that are consistent, right? So they're happening again and again and again. Now, what does it mean once you've mastered all of the sounds, all the vowels, the consonants, and the diphthongs? Does this mean now you are a band 9 and you are good to live life? Unfortunately, no, right? Because English has not only a wide range of pronunciation features, but also it has a level of word stress, sentence stress, intonation, and rhythm, right? So when an English speaker speaks, it sounds a bit like this, right? Ups and downs happening all the time. And these ups and downs are what create the language, really, for us. And so without this, it sounds strange, robotic, and we might not be able to understand what it is in your sentence that you're trying to emphasize, right? That's in part why word stress and sentence stress is so important. Okay? So once we've moved on to perfecting the sounds, you can get between a 6 or a 7 on the IELTS pronunciation band descriptors. I would say you're probably going to be around a 6. A 6 in pronunciation means that you are generally making the sounds okay, but you do have some errors, but they're not consistently occurring, right? So maybe sometimes you say very instead of very, but not all the time, right? That would be around a band 6. Now, once you start learning some intonation, some word stress, some sentence stress, and it starts to sound kind of good, that's going to be around a 7. Once it starts to sound pretty good, that's around an 8. And then once it is just perfect and sustained and has a level of precision and there's kind of a subtle meaning in your words and how you pronounce them, that's a 9, okay? Now, don't lose hope. Don't think, oh no, this is so challenging now. It is challenging, right? But it's okay because we can work on all of these things slowly over time. I would say that pronunciation is kind of the building block, if you will, of the IELTS exam. Once you have pronunciation down, your fluency and coherence also starts to increase because you're able to speak smoother. And once you start to work on word stress, intonation, and these things, your fluency just really increases. So your fluency and your pronunciation kind of go together, right? And yeah, there are no disadvantages to taking time to work on your pronunciation. I've encountered a lot of students who do not want to focus on pronunciation. They only want to focus on lexical resource and grammatical range and accuracy. And that's great. Definitely you need that. The only problem is then your fluency and coherence and your pronunciation are going to suffer. Okay? You'll have all the greatest words, but you won't be able to say them well. And you'll have all the greatest grammatical range, but you'll constantly be pausing. And For example, you might take that subordinated conjunction though and pronounce it so, and then it sounds like you're repeating so over and over and over again when actually you're trying to use varied conjunctions, and that's really going to hurt your grammatical range and accuracy. So all of this to say, your pronunciation is really important. Please work on it. Take the time. Now, just to make you feel better, I will be really honest. The IELTS exam in general is challenging, even for native English speakers. So I have actually given the exam to native English speakers who were moving to another country and they had a certain job that they wanted, but because they were from outside the country, they still needed an IELTS score. And I've given like 6s, 5.5s, and 6.5s to these types of candidates simply because they didn't have really great fluency and coherence. They adapted into their speech because they were native English speakers, a lot of pause fillers, a lot of pauses in general. Even me, right? As I do this video, I pause quite often and go, and I also repeat certain words quite often as well. If you look at my grammatical range and accuracy video, I say now and so much. Okay? So really, the IELTS exam is challenging for everyone. To get a 5.5 and to get a 6 is great, right? So don't feel upset if that is kind of the score range you're around right now. Just keep working on it. All you can do is practice, and really start that practice with strong pronunciation, okay? Now, that is all that I have for you today for pronunciation. I will be back soon with more videos for you. Okay? Have a great day. Goodbye.